Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And what are we discussing today? Looks like we're looking at the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Masters Guide section on the Cloak of Elvenkind. And we kind of randomly chose this many weeks ago, probably like 2 months ago. We put this in the queue, and then after looking it over, it was like, well, wait a minute. If we're doing this, we've got to look at invisibility, and we've got to look at ability to hide, and all of these other things, and get those on the record, and what opinions I might have about those. Hey, Vince himself is in the chat. Hey, Vince, we're finally on the Cloak of Elvenkind. Anyway, we looked at all those other things, and we went through all of those, so we're finally going to take a look here at the cloak. What do we got here? Hey, maybe we'll pop it up on the left screen and see. Cloak of Elvenkind. A Cloak of Elvenkind is of a plain neutral gray, which is indistinguishable from any sort of ordinary cloak of the same color. However, when it is worn, with the hood drawn up around the head, it enables the wearer to be nearly invisible. For the cloak has chameleon-like powers. In the outdoors, the wearer of the Cloak of Elvenkind is almost totally invisible in natural surroundings, nearly so in other settings. Note that the wearer is easily seen if violently or hastily moving, regardless of the surroundings. The invisibility bestowed is. And they got 3 different sections here, and some of them are a little problematic. We'll get to that. Outdoors, in natural surroundings. Heavy undergrowth, 100% invisible. Light growth, 99% invisible. Open fields, even 95% invisible. So pretty good. I like to point out the scene where, in Lord of the Rings, where in the movie, where Sam and Frodo are near the gates and they have to hide on that rocky scree, and they just pretty much lay underneath them as if they were a blanket, and the appearance of them is as if they are just other stones on that stony outcropping. And it's done pretty well, I gotta say, and it is the kind of expression of this Cloak of Elvenkind and the natural surroundings view that I would have taken. In that case, it's rocks and they're gray, but there's a brownish, grayish, greenish kind of chameleon-like ability to these cloaks. But let's point this out before we go any further below. When it is worn with the hood drawn up around the head, it enables the wearer to be nearly invisible. It's chameleon-like. So chameleons can close their eyes, and their skin covers every bit of their body. It makes them indistinguishable when they blend into their surroundings. And you see memes all the time with a cat in a tree, or a brownish tabby or whatever, or an owl in the crook of a tree, and you can't see him until you look really closely. And a lot of that is probably Photoshop adjustments to an otherwise somewhat visible owl in a tree, right? But nevertheless, That's the effect you're trying to achieve with these cloaks. It's very rarely 100% heavy growth, easily 99% light growth, 95%, even in open fields. That's fantastic. Outdoors, other. Rocky terrain. There's our Lord of the Rings scene, 98%. Buildings. Well, there's a lot of straight lines and flat surfaces in buildings. Still 90%. Not bad. Brightly lit room. This one has always thrown me. 50%. Not because of the percentage, but because it's included in outdoors other. Okay, buildings, I get it. You go into a ruins and, or maybe you're in a town, but you are out of doors technically, but you're near a building. I get that. I get all of that. But a brightly lit room assumes an enclosed space, not like in the middle of a Roman house where they have a sort of courtyard that's open to the sky so that you can put windows on both sides of all the rooms around it and get natural light in during the days and stuff. But a brightly lit room, outdoors other, well, okay. Anybody has any ideas about that? Pop them in the comments, because, like I said, that one has always thrown me. I guess there's about maybe a gazebo counts for something like that. You're outdoors in the middle of a park and got an open-sided, technically a room. It's got a roof over it. I don't know. It's interesting. Underground, the last section. Torch or lantern light, 95%. If that's all the light that's there. Here, this one's kind of interesting. Infravision. And this is at 90%. And this is interesting because it suggests that the cloak is a physical object that comes between you and a viewer. Somebody who sees. So it masks like cover would, like standing behind a wall or standing behind a sheet of wood, large piece of plywood, 4x8 sheet of plywood, and I'm behind it. Can you see my, can your infravision pick up my heat source through something like that? Well, this suggests that infravision can do that. And we spoke about infravision when we talked about vision and invisibility and all of that other stuff. Please go back and check out those videos if you don't know them already. But it's interesting that underground, something with infravision only has 90% chance of seeing you. This, of course, infravision would assume that there is no other light source. This is why the light sources that are here are separated. Torch and lantern light, 95%. Infravision, 90%. Continual light, and continual light. So all magic light, 50%. It's as if continual light, we know, daylight. So is this like being in an open field, being underground? It's no, it's not like that, because you can still hide and there's still some growth in an open field that you can hide within. But what if you're underground in a mushroom field? Well, you're going to have to make that call, right? But it's the same as a brightly lit room. Outdoors. Again, that's a little problematic, but notice the percentages are the same. So you got to make your own calls in your own game, but I like where they're going with this. The hood drawn up around the head, it kind of suggests maybe the face is still visible. So does a Cloak of Elvenkind go all the way down to the toes? That's another thing you got to decide. How stationary do you have to be to get the full effect? Now, it suggests that if the wearer is easily seen if violently or hastily moving, regardless of the surroundings. So if you can move slowly, then it suggests, and your surroundings still are the main effect on what percentage? Okay. So bottom note on this, this is Dungeon Masters Guide, page 141, for those looking it up. Fully 90% of these cloaked are sized for human to elven-sized persons. The other 10% are sized for smaller persons, 4 feet or so in height. I think the idea there is that if these are made by elves, they sometimes make them for younger elves who would be smaller. Not that they would make them for halflings or gnomes and, make them as a attempt at commerce. I don't think that's the suggestion here. So, do as you will in your campaign, but as I said, some of those things might seem a little problematic, but it's worth noting that it's a pretty good item. It covers literally quite a bit of the wearer when they're attempting to not be seen. So that wraps up that one. Hey, don't forget the 23rd. I think it's a Saturday, right? Is Jim Ward Day. He passed away in 2024 in March, and but his birthday was the 23rd of May. So we're spreading the word on that and making sure that everybody knows that. I'll talk about that more next week. In fact, I think out of his and he did work on original D&D, first edition D&D on up, and he was into the 2000s. He was working with Eldritch Enterprises and doing some work on his own, some of it through Troll Lord Games and 77 Worlds, an RPG he put together with some others. The Starship Warden, the excellent Chris Clark, of course, helping him bring that huge project to fruition. Kind of full circle, right? Starting with Metamorphosis Alpha and the OD&D Deities book. But for our purposes, the first edition, Deities and Demigods, falls right into the purview of this show. So next week we're going to have a look at that and discuss how I personally use it, which is not verbatim. I don't just pull gods out of the books for my players to fight like many people joke they did as kids when it first came out. Oh, they've got stats. If they have hit points, we can kill them. Little did they know that they had a lot of other things too. But we'll discuss that next week. So thanks for tuning in today, I've got to say. I also do want to thank Vince for stopping into the chat. And please, well, here, we'll do the title sequence here. AD&D DMG, Cloak of Elvenkind, what we talked about today. The show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central. Then it's archived on YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, do all of that fun stuff, and it'll be appreciated. In fact, join our Patreon supporters, even at the free level, on such illustrious individuals as Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the Antipodean D20, Dave O'Brien, unauthorized user, Dethangel Shadow, Heidi and Eric, Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa, recently of the chat, but also of the Maroon Room, an excellent prog rock band. We got Daniel Caldwell of Griffin and Gargoyle, Martin Thomas of Daddy Rolled a One, top-notch YouTube channel, Christian Garcia, Stephanie Lesniewski-Gruchow, get well soon, pal, Cera Toppilopkus, Colin Szablewski, go Abs, I say that for you, Sergeant Zeno, Bruiser, Nate Mosier, Rod Garcia, John Smith, and as always, Shane Bradley, DM Extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Thank you, and bye-bye.